All right, you guys. So today the SPY was up about probably at 1.2%, and then the news came out probably around 11 o'clock where two missiles hit Poland. Russia's claiming it was an accident, and I listened to Ukraine's response. They want full-on NATO reaction. So if you don't know um, if there is NATO reaction, that would be what we would then call World War III historically, because um, a NATO reaction, they have something called Article 5, and you guys can look into that. But so really pretty doom and gloom news. And what you see is that you had this rally, and this is right around, you see how it's 10:30. This is right around when that news broke. So you had the reaction off of the news, and then what they started to do in the US is they start to downplay it, right? Because they don't want World War III. People might disagree on that, but I don't think that that's the play for anyone. Just have that kind of escalation, at least at this point. So you could see the US then comes in, they say they can't confirm. See, it's about 11:30 here, and they say, well, we can't confirm. We have to, dig into it more. They know, right? They know what's up, and but you can see the market react here, and then this is close. So off of this news of, and you guys are gonna have to figure out your own level of history. You may know this stuff, but it's like a lot of people say there will be World War III, and they're calling for all this doom and gloom stuff. This would actually be if NATO has to retaliate, which is what Ukraine is calling for. Yes, right. But because we didn't get the sell off here, this is why using charts to discern the news is better than anything else, because you can see. Well, that's weird. Let's reload that. Okay. Okay. Um, Bummer, dude. But anyway, so you can see that there was the initial reaction, and then what happened is boom, then you got the bounce, and then you closed about where you were. So no big move to the up or downside. So then this is a list that I haven't shown anyone yet. And basically, so if Article 5 is enacted, what would you do? You go over to metals, okay? And these are miners, okay? This is the gold miners ETF. So there's two things that will happen off of that. The price of gold and precious metals earlier than expected will pretty much rip on that kind of news, because we're talking about World War III. And so what you would do if World War III starts, okay, how to trade World War III. You go over to the metals, and this is called the gold miners ETF, right? And so historically, and what I was waiting for is a pullback on this, and I was expecting until today that pullback would come sometime in December, early January, and then this becomes a buy. And I'm not going to go into why now. I'll do another video about these metals and that, because this could still play out this way and why. But if you got the Article 5 news, what you can do is go over here, go to the gold miners, and you hit a little, not a lot, but you do a little investment here, or something that, scale into this. But you can see it doesn't move. It doesn't have a lot of volatility. Okay, so that's something. Now, you can copy these if you want. These are all different mining companies. Okay, and so you could go through and pick your mining companies, do a chart, and you could invest in some gold mining companies. Okay, that would be the first move. The second move, maybe if you're really like trying to hit the play, you would actually you would go here, and then you can go to You would do this first, actually. So you would go to gold, which is GLD. Now, they call this paper gold. So this is not like you're not holding gold, but let's say that overnight or very soon you've got something in the news that says that Article 5 is going to be enacted. What is the play? I'm showing you what will happen next if that were to happen, and that is a big if, right? This is paper gold. It's an ETF, so not now. What I'm waiting for, again, is the pullback. I think there's going to be a strong pullback in gold and silver and all of this, unless this Article 5 gets enacted and then we are in World War III, in which case you go over here and you you scale into this paper gold tray play, okay? Silver, same thing. Silver has its own, and silver might have a bigger upside. So in these metals, silver has a greater potential for gain than gold. Okay, silver can move very quickly off of news, so that's something to pay attention to. Off of that same news, the other ones to watch would be, we're already in UNG. So you can see UNG today, while the market was selling off, UNG caught this candle, okay? Which it doesn't seem big, but it is, this is a positive move while everything else is selling off. Okay, so you look at UNG, I'm already in this. If I was not already in this, I'd be buying more UNG right here, because if this pops off, there's no doubt natural gas is going to rip. Okay, so now go to, and these are your oil, so you can copy these. Crude futures, this is gnarly. You don't really want to mess with this unless you know what you're really doing. But something like this is your volatility index, and this is something to pay attention to. If you see this start to go crazy, you're going to know that there's going to be a move. This is like the VIX for oil, okay? But you can go over to USO, all right? It's like United States Oil Fund, and you can see this big macro. I mean, I have a lot of charting on this one. I've looked at this a bunch, but basically on this, you could play this USO, and for it to move up and to break this 106 would not be impossible. Okay, we would be in deep shit because we burned through our oil reserve, so we will have to purchase a lot of oil, and very quickly, because we have a reptilian commanding. Now, Oxy over here, this is another play. Warren Buffett, how everybody loves to talk that shit, but Warren Buffett is heavy into this, right? And so he's a long-term buyer, but you can see, look at the move today, and look at this pattern on Oxy right now. This looks like it's setting up for a breakout. If you notice these levels, right? So this would be one, if you get Article 5 talks, this could pop. And if this breaks, look at where we're at, guys. If this breaks to the upside, you've got price discovery, parabolic style move. But it's also a situation, it's like you also have room for it to come down, right? So I wouldn't jump into this now, but if that news were to break, that's what you could do, right? Just to look at something like that. In a normal situation, if it wasn't news driven, then you would see a pullback on this, maybe down to this level, right? So a better place to enter into something, but this might pique your interest into this play, because if this escalates over the next couple of weeks, if we do get a pullback, let's say we do get a pullback, let's say things take time to digest. It's not like World War III is going to start tomorrow. So we get a pullback, things calm down, and then you start to scale in, and then we actually have something really pop off. This is going to break out. Okay, so that's another one to pay attention to. And again, all of these are if this pops off more. They hit the wheat fields today. And so you can see on the, and this is all breaking news. This just came out, around 11 o'clock U.S. or Pacific time. So yeah, you see 11 o'clock, boom, you get the pop on wheat. Now it's not a lot, but if this has a continuation, look, it's only a 4% move, and it came back down, but you might find an entry on wheat. Any one of these commodities, but especially wheat and natural gas and oil, are things to pay attention to. And I'm not going to go into shorting or anything like that, because that's too complicated for this purposes. And that all means for Bitcoin, if this pops off, Bitcoin, it's a whole new, we don't really know what to make of anything. So I'm not even going to mention anything with Bitcoin. I'm still in my Tesla long, and so I didn't sell it because I don't want to get jumpy on the idea that this is going to happen, right? Because it also can take time. A lot of times early, you can get kind of jumpy and be like, oh, I want to get out of it. But there's a lot of potential. We sold off today, and this news is going to digest, and we could get another break higher before the whole, before the shit really hits the fan. So anyway, and as far as watching this story unfolds, the one thing I want to say here that's really important is, as people talk about news and they get their ideas, part of what I'm trying to teach you is that what you're seeing here, okay, everything that you hear in the news that a person has an opinion on is an opinion more or less on what's happening here. It will all be represented here. So if you want to know, how did I know that the war in the Ukraine was going to light the dumpster fire on the economy? Because I was watching over here, and I remember during that time bringing that up and hearing people with these opinions. At the time, it was like CNN and MSNBC, and they were saying nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to happen, and I'm watching, and I'm saying absolutely something's going to happen, and it did. And the reason I know that is because these are giving me the news. So I want to show you one other thing. So TLT bonds. Now, this is why this trading environment is not for a beginner, because this is like completely savage what happened today. And you really got to, that's why I'm informing you. So here you go. You have the TLT moved up, which shows us a strength of a rally. So if you were just watching TLT, you'd be like, all right, we have a strong rally moving. However, what happened is TLT moved up on this news because, let's look, 11. Do you see right here? You see this candle right here? You see this move, 10:30. You notice the time frame. The news came out at 11. So what that means is that if there was war, it changes everything you're thinking. Because if there was an actual war and the U.S. had to get involved, of course, now you're going to see the pullback and pivot from the Fed. You're going to see all these things start to change. And one of those things is these rates and what's going on with the 20-year Treasury. And so what happened was, on that news, this didn't rally because it was cooperating with the market. It rallied off of the news that World War III might be starting. That's what you're seeing with that. So it's kind of like a fake out. It's like a pump fake on TLT with that. But anyway, that's what to look at. And I think there's going to be a lot of hype. I think there's going to be a lot of fear. And I don't think it's actually going to come to fruition. The other thing are, if it were to come to fruition, you go to Boeing, or here it is, Boeing. Okay, Boeing would have a big rip if this were to come to fruition. And then there's defense stocks, right? And you can go to online and find them for yourself. I don't have them all memorized. Let me think if I can think of what's LTE. No, No. I don't have those really memorized as far as what the defense stocks are, but those would be things that you could look at if you heard on the news Article 5 has been enacted. So this is a news related event. Let's say you hear Article 5, US is going to war. What do you do? What do you do? It's savage. It's nothing anybody wants to think about. But you got to protect yourself. You go to the metals. You go to the over here. You go to oil. You go to wheat, and you start to invest a little bit of money in these things to carry you through what could be a very scary time. And if this does happen, there are some sure things. USO is a sure thing. Oxy, pretty much a sure thing. Gold, maybe a lagger, but the big pop you're going to see right away is in oil and you're in these kind of commodities. And the gold might be a little bit of a lagger, like a day or two or three. Right? So anyway, I hope that's making sense to you guys. I don't think that World War III has started, but that's how you would play it. Which is, I realize, probably sounds crazy and sensitive, but I'm extremely in tune with things, and I'm just trying to keep it real matter of fact as to what would I do, how would I behave should this happen.